What's up, everybody? I'm Guy, and I am back with this amp right here. It's the new, relatively speaking, it's the new Mesa Boogie 90s Dual Rectifier. I am back with this amp again. I did a video, I don't know, 3-4 weeks ago about this amp. And yeah, I'm back with another video about it. And more specifically, to talk about why I returned that amp and why I wound up buying it again. All right, so I'm going to do some playing demos of this amp. I'm going to do like a walkthrough even of the 3, I guess, modes or channels and the controls and everything. I'm going to cut in with a bunch of playing demos of the different channels, and I'll just preface this all by apologizing and saying that I'm not the best guitarist in the world. Many of you are not going to enjoy my playing. I'm sorry. It is what it is. I'm like, basically just an intermediate level guitarist. I'm not that great, but I do my best, and I enjoy gear, and I enjoy making videos. So hopefully some of you will enjoy, seeing the content that I'm capable of creating. Now, all of that said, aside from some playing demos, this is going to be a very, very talky video. I'm going to be talking a lot. I have a lot of thoughts and opinions about this amp. If you prefer the shut up and play already style videos where there's very little talking, again, I'm sorry. This is not going to be the video for you. It's just not really my style. I think that, my thoughts and my opinions are probably more valuable than my playing, so I want to share that stuff with you more so. But there will be plenty of playing and demos and samples and whatnot of the amp. Now, one of the main things I want to talk about when it comes to this amp is why was I kind of negative on it in my first video 3 or 4 weeks ago? Why did I say in that video, I think I might return it? And then I, in fact, did return that amp. And why do I have another one sitting right here next to me? It's a long story, and yeah, it's one that I'm going to share after another little playing sample or demo. Hey, I just wanted to cut in here because I was editing this video and I realized that I didn't touch on the signal chain that I was using to record everything with. And somebody made a comment in the previous video that I did on this amp that was incorrect, and they were suggesting, well, one part was correct. They were like, oh, it sounds so fizzy, there's way too much high end and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know if they were suggesting that it was my fault or the amp's fault. It was my fault. I had the treble and the presence turned up way too loudly in that last video. But I didn't discuss the signal chain in that video at all, and I forgot to do it again because it's just something I don't think about. The signal chain is guitar into my pedal board, and I mentioned when I was using different pedals. But then the pedal board into the amp. The amp was in my video room, which is not this room. This is my computer editing and music room. And I had a 50-foot long speaker cable running to my cabinet in this room, and then two microphones in front of the cabinet running back to my video room into my audio interface in there. The microphones that I'm using are a combination of an SM57 and an MD421 Sennheiser microphone, the compact version. Now, I am using a Mesa Rectifier 2x12 horizontal cabinet as well. So 2 vintage 30 speakers, it's all stock. I didn't do anything with the cabinet. And yeah, after that, as far as like post-editing stuff, I'm putting a little bit of a high shelf, low shelf filter. Low shelf at 80 hertz, high shelf at 8 kilohertz, and the high shelf is a very, very gradual 6 dB slope, just to get rid of any of the low-end rumble that you might be hearing from something like, I don't know, my air conditioner kicking on, or any excessive high-end that might be coming through like the window or something, because I'm in a small room with a window right there. So other than that, though, no editing of the guitar tone in post with, you know, software or anything at all. And yeah, that's my signal flow for this entire video. So here's what happened. I got, probably, like I said, 3 or 4 weeks ago, one of these 90s Reissue Dual Rectifier amps, and I really, really liked it. I thought it sounded great. You know, the only real complaint that I had with it was the fact that it cost $3,500, and I feel like that, and I still feel like that's an insane price for this amp. But my thought process back then was, you know, I think I could get an amp that sounds just as good for a fraction of the price. So I just don't think that this amp is a good value. And while I do feel that way in some regards, there are a lot of really great high gain amps out there that are way, way, way more affordable than this amp. The truth of the matter is that, at least for me, I guess there's nothing like a rectifier. And I couldn't fill that, you know, that void in my heart with some other amp. I tried a couple different things. I already had a Marshall DSL 100, which is an amp that I actually really like a lot, and I think it sounds great. But it just does not quite sound like this. It just can't do that rectifier thing. So I didn't get rid of the amp. I still have it. Now I have, you know, 2 amps, that one and this one. But, you know, I said, okay, well, and the Marshall's not really doing it for me exactly like, you know, filling that void in my soul that is the void that needs to be filled with a rectifier. So I said, all right, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to try an EVH 5153 Stealth. And I went with the 50-watt model, thinking like, oh, you know, I can spend $1,500 and get a super awesome high gain amp. I got 2 of those. Well, the first one just didn't work right at all. Turned the gain all the way up, and it basically had no distortion, no overdrive whatsoever. Probably bad preamp tubes, but look, it was a brand new amp. I'm not going to jump through a whole bunch of troubleshooting hoops and fix something that should work right out of the box. Packed that one up, sent it back. Got another one, and the new one did, in fact, work fine in terms of, like, you know, I turned the gain up, and I actually had distortion and overdrive. Really liked the sound of that amp. I think it sounded great, but that had one, I was going to say little problem, but it's really not a little problem, it's a pretty significant problem. And that is that the amp just was so compressed and so raw that whenever I tried to play anything high gain, even with a noise gate on, every time I would play something, and if there was even the slightest little bit of pause, just tons of microphonic feedback and squeal. Again, maybe bad tubes, I don't know. I'm not going to jump through a bunch of hoops to try to fix a problem that shouldn't be there in the first place. Maybe I was just using too much gain, but on the blue channel, you got to turn the gain all the way up, plus use a boost if you want to get into that high gain, heavy metal and thrash metal kind of territory. And on the red channel, yeah, I didn't have the gain up very high at all, maybe 11 o'clock at most, and just tons and tons of feedback, microphonic squeal, whether it was with this Gibson Les Paul or my Charvel with Seymour Duncan pickups, didn't matter. Just basically was unusable for high gain. So I boxed that one up and set it back and said, okay, well, I guess a 5150 is not the amp that's going to solve my problems. I'm going to try a different rectifier. So like I said, I boxed up that 5150 50-watt version. It was the stealth version, if I didn't say that. And while I loved the tone, I thought it sounded great in and of itself, all the feedback was too much of a problem. So I said, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get a used multi-watt dual rectifier 3-channel. And I loved that amp. I think it sounded amazing. In fact, I think that the modern red channel on that multi-watt sounded a little tiny bit better than the red channel on this 90s Reissue 2-channel. But I bought a used one, and it was from 2014, I think, was what the date on the inside of the chassis said. And it had a bunch of problems. Number one, the tubes were original, and when I bought it, the seller told me the tubes were a year old. The problem was they were STR 440 Mesa branded tubes, and Mesa hasn't made those tubes in like 8 years. So surely those were the original tubes. You could look at them and you could see that like the silver on the top of the tube was kind of graying out a little bit. There was some noise. The amp was a little bit noisier than I would have expected. Anyway, obviously not brand new tubes like the seller had suggested. I think he actually said they were a year old, but that was not possible. He did agree to refund me some money to buy new tubes, but a full set of Mesa tubes is $400, and all he wanted to refund me was about half of that. But I said, okay, I really like the amp. I think it sounds amazing. I'll go ahead and I'll take the cost of a retube. And, I got the amp for a good enough price where I felt like that was okay. But then I started, testing the amp more, and I found out that either the foot switch didn't work or the loop circuitry didn't work. What happened was when you put the loop dial on the back of the amp into foot switch mode, the foot switch was stuck always on, no matter the state of the foot switch. Did I say that right? The loop was stuck on no matter the state of the foot switch. So if you turned the loop off on the foot switch, even though it was in foot switch mode on the amp, the loop wouldn't turn off. At that point, it was like, okay, is the foot switch broken? Well, that's almost $200 for a new foot switch. If you can get them, they're not always in stock. Or is there something wrong with the amp circuitry? And I just said, look, I bought it through Reverb, and I said, hey, there's just too many problems with this amp for me between the tubes needing to be replaced and now potentially something with the foot switch or the foot switch looping circuit. I don't want to take it to a technician or spend money on a new switch and find out that that's not the problem. So long story short, Reverb, you can usually return stuff, and Reverb's really good about helping the consumer in that regard. So I returned that amp, got my money back. And, at that point I was like, okay, maybe yes, this new amp is really expensive, but it's new. It's got a 5-year warranty. I don't have to worry about problems, and it sounds fantastic. So here we are today, and I got this amp again. So yeah, I really do love this 2-channel dual rectifier, despite the fact that they call it the 90s reissue or whatever. I think that's such a dumb name. It's like, just whatever. I'm nitpicking. I'm complaining about something that doesn't matter, but it annoys me a little bit. But yeah, the amp itself, it's fantastic. It sounds great. I've played a couple of samples. I'm going to just do a little bit of a playthrough here because none of my pre-recorded samples are of the vintage channel or of the clean channel. All my pre-recorded stuff that I did that I'm cutting in here and there is red channel stuff, the modern high gain channel, which is my favorite, of course. But yeah, let's talk about the vintage channel a little bit because I don't love that channel on this amp. And again, you're not going to be able to see the dials so well, so I'll kind of try to tell you what I'm doing with it. In fact, you can't see, that's one of the things I dislike about this amp. You can't see the face panel, the chromed out thing, hardly at all. I actually have a big, you can't see it, but a big giant white board here, so that there's something reflecting on this panel so that you can even see it. If that board wasn't there, this would look like a black top and a black bottom because the back of my room back there is dark. This whole chromed out thing is a stupid, stupid design. The Marshall Silver Jubilee, which is an amp I love, and I'd love to own one someday, also has this chromed out thing. And, despite the fact that you can't hardly read anything on it, it's just like really bad for challenging, and not even really challenging, but normal lighting conditions. Like, this room isn't that dark. I got a light there, I got a light there, I got a light over there. And still, if I didn't have this giant white board out here out of frame, you would not be able to see this front panel at all. It's ridiculous. But I digress. That's a bad design choice. I don't like it. But I like a lot of stuff about the amp. Unfortunately, like I said, the vintage channel, really not so much. I mean, okay, so with all of the controls kind of at noon, except the volumes, obviously, and I have no pedals enabled right now except my noise gate. If I turn the noise gate off, you probably hear some hum. So we'll keep the noise gate engaged. But other than the noise gate, I don't have anything else going on. Vintage channel with everything at noon. It's a really dark, really, I don't know, I want to say like unusable channel. Oops, I'm trying to play a D chord or a G chord, and I'm in drop D. I forgot. But yeah, that is like super, super dark. And I mean, there's controls, right? Like turn up the treble and stuff. I know. I'm just saying, like at default, at noon, that's darker than any other amp that I've ever really played or demoed. But yeah, we could turn up, the treble and the presence and cut back the lows a little bit, which is what we'll do. I'll put the treble up just about to like between 1 and 1:30, not quite 2 o'clock. And I'll cut the mids back a little bit, maybe to 10 o'clock. I'll cut the bass back to about 10 o'clock as well. Now, I'm going to play it. I haven't touched the presence yet. See if that makes much of a difference. Yeah, it makes a difference. It does, but it's still dark. The other thing about the channel is that it's kind of honky. It's like got these like unpleasant mids, in my opinion. It just doesn't sound good. a lot of people will argue like, oh, those are like the mids that cut through the mix, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I don't know. I have my Marshall amp, for example. It's got plenty of mids to cut through the mix, but it's not like unpleasant honky mids, like congested, like I got like a nasal problem or something. I don't like the tone of the mids. So normally I would kick on a pedal, which I'll just kick on briefly with a little bit of a cut at 800, a little bit of cut on, it's a Boss GE7, by the way, 7-band. So a little bit of a cut at 800, a little bit of a cut at 100, and a little bit of boost at 3200. Maybe a little too bright. It's hard to like judge it because I have the cabinet mic'd up in the other room and I'm listening to the mic'd up cabinet through speakers in this room, but you know, it might be a little too bright. But cutting that 800 frequency mids on this channel helps a lot, I think. I'll do on and off. So here's on and then off, right? So you can hear how like congested and muffled and honky those mid frequencies are on this vintage channel when I turn the EQ pedal off, and it's in its off state right now. Another weird thing about this channel is the presence knob does like nearly nothing, right? So here, I'll just play some, just like the bottom two E and B strings. I'm gonna cut the presence all the way down and just slowly roll it up. So there it is all the way down. So now that's at half, and I don't even hardly hear it doing anything. So that entire range of 0 to halfway does almost nothing. Now we're at almost 3 o'clock, and now I'm starting to hear it. But from the end here, from 3 to the end, is where it all comes on. And there I'm at the end. I mean, that presence does nothing, 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 nothing. Rolls on a little bit, and then all the way at the end there, it's like, whoa, it just kicks on. So yeah, you kind of have to run the presence at like almost 3 o'clock or higher to get anything out of it on this channel. But now with the treble, and I'll cut the treble back a hair because we're making up for a lot of that with the presence now. So with the treble at about 12:30, 1 o'clock, the presence up at 3 o'clock with the mids and the bass cut a little bit, and the gain at half if that wasn't already stated. I don't know, still not great. Let's try a little more gain. Gain up to about 2 o'clock now. Yeah, I don't know. Again, like I'm not a great guitarist, right? I just like play chords and chuggy stuff and like thrashy kind of metal riffs and whatever. I'm not good. I admit that. Still, I don't know what I would do with that channel. It's weird. It just doesn't sound good to me. It's not terrible. It's not like unusable, and I'm sure plenty of more talented musicians will find plenty of use for that channel. But for me personally, I don't know. I just don't see the use for it. I can't really dial it in and get any kind of tones that I personally really like. So yeah, that's the vintage channel. I think for what I would do is I would just clone the vintage channel to modern, and I would have 2 modern channels, or I would set the vintage channel to clean, and I would have a clean channel and the red high gain channel. All right, so now I got a different guitar. I'm gonna jump over to the red modern channel and kind of do a similar walkthrough with that. I think it sounds much better, but it does have some downsides. At like noon, the bass is way, 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 way too high. It's very bassy, very woofy. It's not bright enough, but you can definitely get it bright enough. But yeah, here's kind of like zeroed out what it sounds like. No pedals other than, again, my noise gate. Yeah, that low end is ridiculous. So we're gonna start by bringing the lows way down. We're talking like 10 o'clock. We're gonna cut the mids as well, maybe to 10:30, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, somewhere between there. Add a little bit of treble, up to 1 o'clock. And for presence, that's kind of like to taste. I tend to overdo it a little bit, but I'm going to kind of keep it around 1 o'clock as well. And now we'll kind of have a listen. So they're way better. Maybe I even cut the bass a little bit, but usually I'm going to use a boost, Super Overdrive or Pepper's Dirty Tree. So I'm probably not going to need the bass this low when I use a boost, but I'm going to cut it a little bit for now. I'm going to raise the gain up to about 1:30, 2 o'clock, something like that. See how that sounds. Pretty good, not tight at all. There's like zero tightness there. But that's about where I might dial this in and then kick on a boost. So we'll go with the Dirty Tree, kick that pedal on, and I'm probably going to be able to add a little bit of the bass back because that's going to cut some bass. Now, some people say the Dirty Tree, I was talking to folks on a group, like the Dirty Tree is too bright of a pedal for a 6-string guitar, but it's great for baritones and 7 strings and 8 strings and whatnot. I don't know. I think this sounds good. You guys can be the judge. Tell me what you think. So this is Modern Red, Dirty Tree, nothing else but the noise gate. Yeah, so that's kind of like where I get this dialed in. Maybe a little more gain, maybe a little less gain, depending on which guitar that I'm using. But yeah, I really like that Modern Red channel kind of in this place. I think it sounds great. All right, that brings us over to the green channel. I've switched it up here. I went on the back and flipped the switches. I got my single coil Fender Strat out, and it's still got the same settings as before when we were on the vintage channel. I don't think that those settings are quite appropriate for the clean, but it sounds good. But I would probably brighten some stuff up on the dial. I mean, it depends on what I'm playing, right? Like if I'm playing higher up on the guitar, this kind of darker tone might be fine. But if I'm down in more of an open position, it's a little dark. So I'm going to brighten up the treble a hair. I'm going to bring in a little bit more bass. You could use it, not a ton. Bring the presence up again a little more. Yeah, that's about where I would, just those minor little tweaks, a little more treble, a little more presence, a little more bass. And, that's about where I like it for the cleans. And yeah, I think they say these are improved cleans for this amp versus the old original 90s era 2-channel dual rectifiers. I mean, I did own a Tremo Verb dual rectifier in probably around 1999, 1998 or 99. I don't really remember much about that amp. It was a long time ago. So whether or not these cleans are better than that, I can't really say, but that's the overall sentiment, is that these cleans are better than the old ones, for whatever that's worth. pretty good. Try a little reverb. Yeah, I think they sound, I don't know, great. I mean, it's a clean, so, great, right? What's great clean? Um, they sound good, perfectly usable. No complaints with that. I don't know. I guess I could do like one more little like chordy thing, I guess. There's not much else to say about the cleans. I just did want to do a little bit of a demo of the clean channel because I didn't in the last video. So yeah, clean sound good, no complaints. Overall, I gotta say, I really am super impressed with this amp. It's the price that kills me. And, I ranted and ranted and ranted about the price in the last video that I did. So much so that, I returned the amp. I just thought it was too expensive and not worth the price. But I did do a little bit of, trial and error, trying out some other amps to see if I could get something much more affordably that gave me the same, not only tone, the tone's important, but the same feel, the same, I don't know, gratification, the same enjoyment. And I just, didn't find it. I looked a little bit, probably not as hard as I could have, but in the end, I knew I wanted to have a dual rectifier. I had one back in the 90s when I was, 20 years old. That was like a pivotal point in my life. And I just wanted another one. And, here it is. I tried the used market. I know people will be like, well, you could get a used Rev G for, super cheap and way more affordable than this and blah, blah, blah. I mean, my foray into the used market in general is usually never good. I find that people are selling things used, maybe not more often than not, but often enough that it's a problem. When they're selling something used, it's because there's something wrong with it and they just don't want to deal with the problem. So it winds up being a problem for me. So I generally avoid buying used. I did buy that used multi-watt version of the dual rectifier and there was problems and I had to return it, even though it was a great price. I think I paid $1,600 for it. That would have saved me, $1,600 is less than half of what this thing cost. So it would have been amazing if I could have just gotten that and it worked and been awesome, but it's just not the way it was for me in that experience or that instance. But yeah, the price is crazy. And something I wanted to talk about, I didn't mention it in the first video that I did, was that think about what these amps cost in the early 90s or mid 90s. I think I saw an ad that the original 2-channel dual rectifier in 1994 was $1,200. Today, adjusted for inflation, even considering everything that's been going on with inflation over the last 4 years or so, that would still only cost $2,400, $2,500, maybe $2,600 in today's money. Yet this is $3,500. That seems completely unjustifiable because A, manufacturing things is theoretically cheaper than it was 30 years ago. So the costs should come down a little bit. And then again, it didn't even just keep up with inflation. It's like 35% higher than just keeping up with inflation. So yeah, the price on this is just, again, my main gripe. It's wholly unjustifiable. But So yeah, I mean, sounds awesome. Gonna be super happy with it, I think, for years and years to come once I get over the fact that I had to spend so much freaking money on this thing. But I love the sound. I love playing it. My neighbors don't love it. My neighbors definitely don't love the sound or the playing. And I had a little bit of an argument with one of them yesterday because I was trying to record this video and just doing the pre-recorded, sound examples, the riffs and stuff. I mean, when you're recording something with real microphones and a real speaker cabinet, you got to kind of turn it up loud to get it sounding right and to, drive the microphones and whatnot. So, yeah, they don't love the sound of it, but I sure as heck do. That said, I want to say, I guess I don't know, I'm OCD, I'm an idiot, I'm a hypocrite, I don't know what it is, but I wound up kind of bashing this thing for the price last time, and yet here I am with another one that I'm for sure going to keep this time. This is, it's settled. I've made up my mind. I've come to terms with the fact that it costs so ridiculously much money, and I definitely shouldn't have spent that much money. I, don't know if I can really afford it. It's stretching me a little thinner than I want to, but hey, it is what it is. It makes me happy. It is the thing that I want. And yeah, I'm really happy with it and I love it. So there it is. Just wanted to, do a revisiting a month later, let you guys kind of be a part of my process and my journey, understand, where I'm coming from, why I'm doing what I'm doing, what I think about this thing, and, give you some more sound examples, give you a look at the vintage channel, because I didn't touch on that at all really last time, even the cleans a little bit, but, mostly, just like I said, talky, lots of talking in this video. It is what it is. It's what I do. I enjoy it. I like communicating with people and just chatting about the stuff that I like to chat about. That said, I'm going to cut myself off now because we're probably running on, I don't know, probably close to a half an hour or something in this video. And I'm sure that is more than long enough for most of you, but I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give me a thumbs up down below. Hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it if I could grow this channel. Give me the opportunity to make more videos. And it's what I like to do. I like making videos. It's fun. So yeah, hit the subscribe button, bell notification if you want to. I don't care. Either way, it doesn't matter, but I would appreciate the subscribe. And I guess I'll say until the next one, bye now.